Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is for the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship. It is scheduled for one fall.
And welcome, guys. Welcome to the Figure 4 TV. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Thanks for having your notifications set. Come on in and hit that like button. I am Figure 4 TV, Mr. Good Brad, and I have my co-host, Red Carpet Ring.
What's going on, guys? We here at the ring. For people that hearing this from Red Carpet Ring, you guys know, get the like, sub, get the chat, support Figure 4 TV, and support the Red Carpet Ring. We are going to talk about the Royal Rumble, and we are ahead of time, so we're going to give you guys what to look forward to when you watch the next Royal Rumble. Keep an eye on the Iron Man, and we'll talk about previous Iron Man and previous Royal Rumbles.
Absolutely, guys. So the Iron Man of the Royal Rumble are those men who have been in the match the longest. An important fixture of the Royal Rumble. There are occasionally winners, but more often than not, make an impression. From Bob Backlund, return to be the Iron Man in 1993, to the ultra-dominating performance of Kane's performance in 2001. These performances are all recognized as important. Many Iron Man men have gone on to win, such as Ric Flair in 92, Shawn Michaels in 95, and Edge in 2021. There are also individuals who have been Iron Man multiple times, like Chris Jericho in 2003 and 2017, for example. In the men's Royal Rumble, there have been 6 Iron Men who have lasted over an hour in the Royal Rumble. Bob Backlund, Chris Benoit, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, and the Ring General, Gunther. Also, there have been 6 Iron Men who have lasted less than 30 minutes. Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Tess, Steve Austin, John Cena, and AJ Styles. Triple H has the unfortunate honor of going over 1 hour at a Royal Rumble, but not being the Iron Man in 2006. Wow. Now that's an impressive stat. So like TBK said, guys, we're going to go through the list. We're going to go year for year, so we know this event was penned and scripted. This was the brainchild of one Pat Patterson with a huge asterisk on it. But this was Pat Patterson's brainchild, and it was penned in 1988. So we're gonna go back till 88, guys. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Let's go to the playback machine, TBK. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So, guys, we going back to the very first Royal Rumble. And, you know, this pay-per-view was No, let me stop saying pay-per-view. This show was made a regular show for those who had a cable box to cut the legs of one NWA. So NWA wasn't going to be bullied like they were bullied for Survivor Series and their Starcade. So they thought they were going to do something. So WWE said, you know what? We're going to make our show. We're not going to move our show. We're going to make our show in January free television. If you got a cable box, you can see it. You ain't even gotta order it on pay-per-view. So that's how they cut NWA's throat. So that's why the Royal Rumble came about. That's how the Royal Rumble came about, guys. Understand that. And if Dick Ebersol didn't put a little spin on it, we might not have had this, because the way Pat Patterson drew it up, and this is why I don't give Pat Patterson full whole credit for this, because Pat Patterson's idea was stolen from his San Francisco territory. He used to be in San Francisco and he used to watch them guys do the Battle Royal, where everybody was in the ring, everybody start out in the ring. So Pat Patterson, he said, let's just have everybody come out. Let's start with two and let's have everybody come out. Now, where Dick Ebersol turned it up another notch is because Dick Ebersol added the countdown and he added the timer and he added the horn and he made it all make sense. So Dick Ebersol, who, don't forget, who was a key piece to us having the main event and our look. Remember how, if you guys go back to WrestleMania 1 and you watch the production of WrestleMania 1 and then you go to the very first Monday night main event, Saturday night main event, you'll see a huge difference. And they were only a couple months apart, guys, in the history of professional wrestling. They were only a couple months apart, but you'll see a drastic difference. So Dick Ebersol was a big part of why we had the Royal Rumble. So let's start with the Royal Rumble, the first one, 1998. So our inaugural Iron Man happens to be the actual first contestant in our Royal Rumble event, which is going to go to Bret the Hitman Hart. TBK. Bret Hart is our first entry in the Royal Rumble match. Tito Santana is number 2. And
Okay.
those two guys started the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, Bret Hart, as we know, he started off the first ever Royal Rumble, and then Bret Hart will later on go and have a great run with the tag team belts and later become Intercontinental Champion. So that was good for that event. And we also know that Bret Hart for that. Well, first off, if those you didn't know, when you said TV special for a Royal Rumble, it was only on the USA Network, and that was only for that year. That 1989 through up until the WWE Network in 15, it was pay-per-viewed, and 15 since has since been live streamed. Just want to notate that.
Good note.
So, but yeah, this Royal Rumble here was, like I said, a USA Network special. Now, the whole thing about Bret Hart, he was the first ever to enter the Royal Rumble. He was already of the Hart Foundation, and Tito Santana was one half of the tag team champions at the time. So I don't know if you guys know that either, but the thing about this Royal Rumble, it was Jim Duggan who ended up winning the Royal Rumble that year. And there was no you get a WWE title shot. That went to 93. So that was 93, but Bret Hart and Tito Santana, they went, I want to say they went for a good minute. It was in there for a good minute, I believe.
Yeah.
It was good for a good minute. I'm trying to see how long exactly. I think it was 40 minutes, I want to say. Something like that. Good 40 minutes.
Well, Bret Hart was the Iron Man in that, and he went 25 minutes and he
25.
went,
Okay.
yeah,
I keep forgetting. I knew it was somewhere around. I knew it was, if not 40, a good 20, 30 minutes. Because you could tell he was exhausted in there.
that's
I
a fact. And a key note, the thing about the Iron Man guys is the Iron Man, they got a big burden on them because the Iron Man is normally the best worker in that particular match.
mm-hmm.
The Iron Man keeps the flow of the Royal Rumble going. When everybody come in and there's very few people in there, that's when the Iron Man step up. Then when the more people come in, that's when everybody get a chance to showcase their move set, and then the Iron Man get a rest. So you gotta watch the Iron Man. It's interesting now that you
Well,
know these things.
and not just that, Bret Hart has set the record for the longevity record. You know he didn't win because he was eventually eliminated by Don Morocco.
Yes.
Morocco eliminated him. So he was the longest at that time. So that was a long time for that Rumble. I knew he was in it for a long time, but he had but the final four was what Morocco, Jim Duggan, Bravo, OMG, one man game. That was the final four. So just because they do their Iron Man, they don't have to be the final four either. Because that's what I used to initially thought, that if they were final four, that Iron Man doesn't mean that. It just means how long you in there and how long you worked.
Right.
That's what that means.
Right. And like you said, 25 minutes for that match was a long time because this year's Royal Rumble overall, the overall Royal Rumble was I think 32 minutes.
Yep.
So 25 out of 32 minutes is deep.
Yeah. So since Brett was in there for so long, they had to reward him later on in his career. They had to reward him for that. And since he was rewarded, now he didn't win the WWE Championship. He wasn't set up for that. He won't win that to I want to say 92. 92 was the first year he won that belt. But he was set to have the Intercontinental Championship.
Exactly. And the Iron Man, back in those days when it made sense, when wrestling made sense, the Iron Man was always the prelude to the Intercontinental Championship. You see, the winner of the Royal Rumble got their shot at the World's Champion and was always placed and set up to be somewhere in the main event picture. But the Iron Man normally and typically always got rewarded with an Intercontinental Championship run to see if he would do good with a World's title run. And that's how it went all the time. Very often, not very often did the heels win. Put it
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I do know that with this Royal Rumble, because I know Bret Hart really didn't win the Intercontinental Championship until '91 at SummerSlam, and we talked about that against Mr. Perfect. He was showcased more as a singles wrestler, and he had more feuds. He did
Yeah,
because he was known as a tag team competitor first.
right. That's what this event was. This event was just testing Bret Hart out to
Mm-hmm.
see how would he break, because he didn't break from the tag team just yet. He
No,
didn't break from the tag team until that tournament he was in at WrestleMania. I want to say they had a tournament, I think, at WrestleMania 5,
I think it was 5. Yeah,
where him and the one man gang got in. Not one man gang. Him and Bad News Brown got into it, and he ended up busting the Bad News Brown. Hit him with the trophy, and that feud started. That's when Bret Hart was starting to get his push for the IC title, and that's when he was starting to get the fruits of his labor.
true, very true. And we have to remember we still was in a golden age. And back then, like you said, sets on Royal Rumble, they didn't know what to expect or not to expect.
That's
And
true.
and also, the inaugural Royal Rumble was held at the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And we know Bret Hart's a Canada man. So
That's a fact. That's
definitely
fact.
helped him out too.
That's a good note right there. And guys, before we get off of this one, Another note, side note, well, he mentioned that the 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 Royal Rumble was held at Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. There's also another event being ran this day on the same day as the Royal Rumble. This is why, if you notice, when you watch the Royal Rumble back, you don't see certain stars in the Royal Rumble. Of course, you're not going to see Hogan and the Giant because they had their big contract signing on that show, but you don't see Honky Talk Man, and you don't see the Macho Man, and you don't see Demolition because those guys was in what's that, Nova Scotia, and they was on a whole nother show doing their own thing over there. In fact, Honky Talk Man beat the Macho Man by disqualification to retain the Intercontinental Champion. So you normally will never see that again. But that's how they used to do it back then. They used to get money. But did you know that?
No, that's interesting. Well, also I didn't know too that Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura were the commentators for the first Royal Rumble,
Yes. Vince McMahon
and
and Jackson.
Dave and Earl Hebner were the referees. Jim Corderas and Joey Morella, they were all referees, and Harold Finkel, of course.
Right. The man, Howard Fink. All right, guys. So that pretty much wraps that up as we make sure we don't leave nothing out. We talked about so yeah, we pretty much Hacksaw Jim Duggan was the winner of this one. I mean, Bret Hart was the Iron Man, but Hacksaw went on to win. And that year was followed up by Royal Rumble 1989, and that took place January 15th, 1989 in Houston, Texas. And the Iron Man for that one was none other than Mr. Perfect. And Mr. Perfect, he was in there for 27 minutes and 56 seconds. And he came in at number 4. Bret Hart came in at number 1, guys. Well, we said that, but yeah, Mr. Perfect came in at number 4. TBK, you want to add anything to Mr. Perfect career of what you know of? Just Mr. Perfect.
Oh man, Mr. Perfect. He was one of those heels that you couldn't stand, but he was a great heel though. Just want to notate that. I will say this. I think he started to get highlighted a lot more when he did win this Royal Rumble. Now this is the one where Big John Studd won the he won the Royal Rumble in 1 hour and 4 minutes. So just want to notate that. That's the first time a big man had won the Royal Rumble. But
True.
that yeah. So, but now we look fast forward and go back. Mr. Perfect is actually one of the. He's known. He has some moments in the Royal Rumble. He has some moments in the Royal Rumble. I think not just this one, just in general, because his last one was in 2002. But I'm gonna get back to the main thing of Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect. Now he will go on. He did win the Intercontinental Championship. Now this was in '89. He first won the championship in '90. So what? Under a year. You said January of '89. So a little under a year later, he did win the no, about April of '90. Now he won that in a tournament where he defeated Tito Santana. It was a vacant title. Now this is important because the person that did vacate it was Warrior, and that's when he won at WrestleMania 6. So he won after that. So that's literally almost a year and a half after winning this Royal Rumble. And now you have to remember this is the early stages, the second one, and this was on pay-per-view because only the first one was on USA Network TV special. He went on to hold that belt. Now he had on that Intercontinental Championship for 126 days before losing it to the Texas Tornado, aka Kerry Von Erich. So I think this was the beginning of his Intercontinental run because we know his second run was almost a year, 280 days. And that was November of that year because Texas Tornado, Kevin Von Erich, he was one leg. He really couldn't do much. So he wasn't going to hold to for a long period of time. But he ended up becoming one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time. I think this Royal Rumble, when he did become Iron Man, it really highlighted him as a competitor and how he could be the Intercontinental champion and hold on to a good mid-card belt, which he did. So now he competed for the world title, but he never won it. He did fight for it, but never won it.
True indeed. He's part of that Hogan era disaster. He's part of the Hogan era disaster. You mentioned it. You touched on it before. He was also later on in one of them years coming up. He's Final Four, and he gets got by Hulk Hogan. But Mr. Perfect, he did his thing. He definitely did his thing. I think that was the very next year. I'm not sure, but let's keep it moving. So that was 89. You said Big John Studd won. Big John Studd was the winner of 89.
Yeah, he won. Yep, he won.
All right. And now 1990 took place on January 21st, 1990 in Orlando, Florida, guys. And the Iron Man for that night would be none other than the $1 Million Man. Now, this was funny because in 1989, guys, this man bought number 30. But in 1990, he ended up with number 1. So what was the karma on that?
I know, right?
And that was the story. You see how even back then they planted seeds for long-term booking and for stories. In 89, the man bought number 30. He bought this, he bought it. He went to the person that drew number 30 and he bought it from them. And then in 90, he ended up with number 1. And he was in there for 44 minutes and 53 seconds, y'all. So, TBK, do you have the winner of 1990?
Yep. I am a real American.
All right, this was
Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
this
he last number 29 was Mr. Perfect. So that, like I said, that he may not win the world title, but he did get close to winning. And that was the guy who's the Iron Man the year before. He ended up becoming second place the following year by getting eliminated by Hogan.
And I remember this was this was 1990. Now it come back to me. So this was all about Hogan versus Warrior and the passing the torch. And this was the controversial one right here, because this is the one that some say Mr. Perfect was supposed to win this one, but Hogan called an audible. Hogan called an audible and at the last minute threw Perfect over. And honestly, nobody's seen any reason why Hogan needed to win this one. You were deadlocked to go to WrestleMania as the champion. You were the champion, and Ultimate Warrior was the Intercontinental champion. So, I mean, other than their little stare down and showdown that they had in the Rumble, I don't see, what I mean, it didn't make sense. But, you know what I mean? Hindsight 2020.
And also Hogan was the champion at the time too, at 25.
Exactly.
That was crazy. I didn't understand why he wanted. You already had the belt. So
Right.
he's the first Royal Rumble winner to win as champion. Guess he made history. And also with DiBiase, Iron Man, he had broke the previous winner, Mr. Perfect's longevity record. He stayed in a total of 44 minutes and 47 seconds.
Exactly. And he came from number 1 position,
Number one.
whereas Mr. Perfect was number 4. Mr. Perfect drew number 4. So A good. That was a good one though. I like that Royal Rumble. This Royal Rumble was fun. 1990. I'm definitely gonna do a review and reaction to that one. Cause also another funny and interesting. You're gonna see something funny, guys. You get a chance to hear Jesse the Body Ventura and Tony Schiavone commentate this show because that's who was on commentary for the 1990 Royal Rumble. It was Tony Schiavone, guys. Remember, I told you he did the whole year, 1990. He did WrestleMania 6, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble. He did the whole year for WWE, and then he was gone. So that's a key fact and a fun look up when you go look back at any of the events in the 1990 WWE archives. Listen to who you listening to. And it sounds weird though, guys. It sounds like WCW's programming, but then when you watching, it's definitely the visual of WWE. So it just sounds weird, just the way Tony Schiavone runs his program. He didn't change much. He really haven't changed much. Want to add anything, TBK?
Yeah, like you said, the last four was Rick Rude. It was Perfect, Hogan, and Hercules. Final four. Like you said, Tony Schiavone. His last event was WrestleMania.
Hold on, before you go back, before you go forward, before Hercules, it was the Warrior. Let's talk about how the Warrior was over there scrimping before Rick Rude came in the ring. It was Hercules and Warrior, and they was over there scrimping, and Hulk Hogan came over there and eliminated the Warrior, bro. That's what Hogan did on some behind the Warrior back. He came over there and eliminated the Warrior, and this is after Mr. Perfect had Hogan hemmed up and was about to eliminate Hogan, but Warrior came and helped Hogan. And you see how Hogan do people, but they don't talk about that. But go ahead, bro.
Yes,
I just
true.
had to mention that. That's how that went down.
Yeah,
And
him
then
and Warrior Hogan had to stare down. Yep, that's how you knew something would happen because Warrior was the Intercontinental Champion at the time. But yeah, he was a I would say yeah, it was a good. Hogan just didn't make no sense for him to be in there, especially since he went to win the following year as well. So that really didn't make no sense to me. But I know they made him the first back-to-back winner. But I still didn't get it. It's just like it's a politic that you got to win it all. It was a lot. It was a good Royal Rumble. I see Shawn Michaels in there. The Rocker Shawn Michaels, but I will say, when it comes to Ted DiBiase, came in number one. He was eliminated by Warrior, and he had 4 eliminations that match. 4. So that was not bad for that Rumble back then. Have 4 eliminations. Matter of fact, he had one of the highest eliminations that night. Hogan and Warrior had 6 apiece. He had 4. So he had the 3rd highest elimination count for that Royal Rumble. And doing this at number 1 as well. So had to notate that.
now next up, guys, a lot of y'all might not know who he is. Might go over y'all head, but he's very decorated, highly skilled, and he had one of the best gimmicks that I've seen. You know what I mean? He had one of the best gimmicks, and he evolved very well. Rick the Model Martel, guys. He had the tag team titles. He had it with Tito Santana. He also had it with Tom Zink, Strike Force. Cause remember, there's 2 versions of Strike Force now. So Rick Martel, he beat Ted DiBiase's previous record of 44-47 with 52-30. He was in there for 52 minutes, guys, in Miami, Florida, January 19th, 1991. Now, I always respected Rick Model Martel because he was a good worker. This guy did a lot. And before we knew what the jobbing position was, what a jobber that make you look good but don't win very many matches was, you had Rick the Model Martel. One of my favorite matches of his, he got two matches that I love that I could watch every day with him in there. That's that match between it's SummerSlam, right? I think it was the SummerSlam. It was him versus Shawn Michaels. You can't punch each other in the face with Sensational Sherry. They fought over Sensational Sherry. That was one of the dopest matches I've seen, yo. That nobody really talk about that, but quiet is kept. That probably was one of the best matches on that card. We talk about the British Bulldog and the Bret Hart match, but that match was one of the dopest matches. The story on that match was fire. And then, of course, one of the worst matches but greatest concepts to me was that blindfold match between him and Jake the Snake. When they had that story about him spraying Jake the Snake in the eyes with the perfume and blinding Jake the Snake, and then they ended the feud in a blindfold match. Because since Jake couldn't see, it was only right that Rick, the model, couldn't see. And that was, y'all go, guys, check that match out, yo, the blindfold match. Go check it out. Go check it out. I know if we did it today, if we reenacted that match today with the level of talent we have on our roster, we'll execute on it way better and it'll be something. But they tried, and just the concept pushes it over. I give it a C. C plus.
That's interesting. I knew about Rick Martel, but I didn't know much about him. I knew about him though. He still I know he retired to 99. He wrestled. He had a long career, very long career.
Yeah, he stayed in shape.
Yeah, he stayed in
Vince
very good shape. Yep.
took real good care of himself.
Yeah. Yeah. He reminded me of looking at him here. He gives me the Fandango type of
Mm-hmm.
pretty
That
boy.
character.
Yep.
Yes.
Gives
Definitely
me
was that
that.
character. Definitely.
But
Good call.
yeah, he's like a Fandango while looking at him. Um, or in a combination of, I don't want to say pretty deadly, but a combination of the flamboyant character, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Now, next up, we go to the ever famous Troy, New York, 1992, January 19th, 59 minutes and 32 seconds with a tear in his eye. Ric Flair walked out of there not only as the Iron Man, but as the world's heavyweight champion from the number third spot, guys.
And for the WWE Championship. I don't think people know why that they people don't know that they saying this is considered the greatest Rumble in history. The greatest.
It's so many Hall of Famers, man. You got so many
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Famers in there. Like the Final Four alone was it. Like the Final Four alone, you saw Macho Man, Ric Flair, Ced Justice, and Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Then if you go back a couple of eliminations, you got The Undertaker. You got, bro, you got it was lit. You had Roddy Piper.
Sid Vicious passed away. You had Macho Man, Taker, Jimmy, Snuka, Roddy, like you said. You had Sergeant Slaughter, the Warlord, the Warlord. He was in there. HBK, British Bulldog, Teddy Bial. It's just a lot of. It's a star-studded roster, and we covered this here on Rumble as well on our Red Carpet Ring Rumble channel. We covered this Rumble, and it's one of the best Rumbles I've ever seen.
Star studded, absolutely star studded, and
And
that's what makes Ric Flair victory one of the best because the names he went over, like the people he beat.
And also, too, I want to notate, despite being a 8-time NWA champion, a 6-time WCW champion. Now, of course, he didn't have that many championship runs at this point, but most of his career, of course, was NWA, WCW based. I believe if he did not win this Rumble, and especially the WWE Championship as a prize of this Rumble, I don't think he'll be widely known like he is now. He will only be the NWA, WCW known. He will be a little bit similar to Sting as far as popularity goes. A little bit more popular. This is when WWE got a chance to see Ric Flair in action. Because he was known in the South, I want to say, and WWE was North.
Yes.
So he was not known. When it came to WWE, we all know it was Hulk Hogan. You know, you had times it was Macho Man and Warrior as well. We're not saying we know they were champion for a certain amount of time. But the biggest star was Hogan. And Flair was only known in the NWA territory and only in Jim Crockett or WCW, whatever name it was at that particular time. He would not have been as popular had he not won a WWE championship. It's pretty much like equivalent today. You could win the TNA World title, you could win the AEW World Championship multiple times. But if you don't win the WWE Championship or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, it don't mean nothing. Your career rate don't mean nothing. You want other titles, but not the title. So I just want to notate that part.
That's fact. That's a fact right there. So moving on to the 1993 Royal Rumble that took place January 24th, 1993 at Sacramento, California. This is where Bob Backlund came back and returned to the WWE, and he blew the roof off. At number 2, he lasted for an hour and 1 minute 15 seconds. Whoo! Talking about a comeback story right there.
And also, he held the record for 11 years until Chris Benoit broke it at 2004 Royal Rumble. So the previous record was Ric Flair for an hour, but this held on a little bit longer.
Absolutely. I remember watching this one. This was the one that Yokozuna came in and made his mark. Bob Backlund was eliminated just right before the Macho Man got eliminated. I don't know what Macho Man was thinking when he did the elbow drop and went to pin Yokozuna,
You
but
know, I'm so glad you brought that up. If you look at history with Macho Man, even the previous year, Macho Man was known for doing stupid, idiotic stuff in Royal Rumble. Like one year, and I think it was 90, he went in, like, you had a certain amount of time to enter Royal Rumble. He'd even entered in because he didn't get it by the time it expired. It's like he was a comedic act when it came to Royal Rumble. He was like a joke. He
yeah,
was the
that you
comic
you
relief.
talking you talking about the year when he cost the year he cost the Ultimate Warrior the world's title by busting him
Mm-hmm.
in the head. He
Yeah.
didn't come in that year. He didn't come out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
And then he was a year where he eliminated himself. He just
yes,
jumped over
that's
the
the year
rope.
before. I think that was the year before, 92. So I said he always did silly stuff at the Royal Rumble. And his I don't want to disrespect Macho, and I like Macho. This is why his world title runs wasn't exactly top tier ranked, because he was known as a great character, mid card, and comedic, doing silly stuff. I just want to say that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Right. Macho never got a chance to be the heel and be
No,
heavyweight champion.
never. Not the heel he should be. Um, but this Royal Rumble with Bob Backlund, he only had 2 eliminations this whole match. So he had the lowest eliminations to be in there over an hour. So he played very smart with that. And he was eventually eliminated by the winner, which is Yokozuna. And he came, yeah, so he definitely was in there. He was in there with number 1, Ric Flair, the previous winner. So that's very interesting though.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bob Backlund played a real integral part. He did. He played a real integral part in this era helping WWE. They took storylines from him because y'all remember the whole Owen. Remember Owen threw that towel in when he had Bret Hart in that chicken wing in that cage match, and that's how he became the world's champion again. And they took that from his storyline. Remember, Iron Sheik had him in the camel clutch, and Arnold Skaaland threw the towel in to save Bob Backlund. So you see, Bob Backlund played an integral part, even though they jobbed him out to Diesel. In a couple of seconds, they jobbed him out to Diesel. But Bob Backlund was a good wrestler, and he's a good storyteller with his wrestling. He ain't have to have all of this flashy intro and flashy attire, but he could tell a story in his matches, guys. Definitely a defensive style wrestler, wasn't on that offensive stuff. But next, guys, we're gonna go with the 1994, and if you notice, WWE, we start to come upon the years of no man's land for WWE, where they run out of characters come 94, 95. We, you know what I mean? We reeling off of that aeroids ever. So now we getting into the murky waters, guys. But on January 22nd, 1994 in Providence, Rhode Island, Bam Bam Bigelow became the newest Iron Man at 38 minutes and 43 seconds from at 38 minutes, 30 minutes and 14 seconds, I'm sorry,
Yeah, I'm
from
about to
number
say that.
15. From
Yeah.
number 15, he became the Iron Man, guys.
Yep, he had 5 eliminations. He was eliminated by one of the co-winners, Lex Luger, and Bam Bam. I wish he had won the world title, but we know why. We know why. But I will say that this was the first only Royal Rumble to have co-winners. So it's not happened since then. And also, if you know number 25, if you guys recognize the name Bastian Booger, he was unable to compete due to an illness. He was supposed to come 25, but he didn't. Just want to notate that. I will also say that Mabel, who came in number 16, was eliminated. Bam Bam Bigelow, a whole bunch of other guys eliminated him too. But I will say Bam Bam Bigelow, one thing I liked about him, he was a big man in the Royal Rumble that dominated. Before, I know we had Kane and we had Diesel and other guys. I think he's like the first big man to dominate during the whole Royal Rumble. And I'm not just talking about Yokozuna. I know he won in '93, but he was the one that really, was able to showcase his work in the Royal Rumble. So
Yep.
I like that part.
Yep, they was really running with Bam Bam. Don't forget, Bam Bam also main evented this year too. Bam Bam main evented against LT.
LT and that year, and that's what set him up. So it was a very, like you said, dark time. We had Undertaker out. You had the Undertaker was Undertaker. He had an injury, which caused the fake Undertaker. We really need someone to step up, and like you said, him and Bam Bam and LT main event that WrestleMania. So it definitely was different. 94 was a weird year for sports, period, or wrestling. I
Yep.
don't know what happened in 94.
That
I
was the
mean,
Lex Express. That
yeah,
was the Lex
94.
Express
Yeah,
for
it
us.
was
That
a
did not work.
weird year, period. This is all sports weird year. First year without Jordan NBA, it was just it was like a reset button. I noticed. I look back, year 1994 was like a reset. So yeah, you had the Lex Express, you had everything. The WrestleMania, I believe that year was in what WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Garden
the
was in the
Garden.
Garden.
So they had to make their name, known. But Bam Bam, he did the best he could to main event that WrestleMania. against LT, a football player that's not a wrestler. So he did the best he could. Just it's one of those situations you're only dealt the cards that you're dealt with the cards that you're handed with. You're dealing with. Going you only do that just that because they had to prepare for that event. That was the next pay per view after Royal Rumble. So that's preparing everything. So
That's right. That's right.
go figure, right? So ain't that much you can do. Um, yeah, but Bam Bam, he really showcased that. I really thought they was gonna do something with him as far as putting a world title on him. I really thought that was gonna happen, but I was wrong.
And moving right along, guys, we're going to the next year. That was in Tampa, Florida, January 1995, January 22nd. And that would be the Iron Man that year, none other than the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels, he broke the previous year's number at 38 minutes and 43 seconds from the number one spot.
Yeah, he definitely did. Um, he was in there for 38 minutes and 41 seconds. 8 eliminations. That's amazing. That's impressive. At number one, 8 eliminations. Also, the most eliminations out the whole Rumble. And
Yeah,
we know,
now if that previous year was dark times, this was pitch
darker.
black. Yeah,
Yeah,
this was
darker.
pitch black, right?
Yep, more pitch black than the LA Knight and Bray Wyatt match at Royal Rumble 2 years ago now.
Right, right.
More
So
pitch
we
black than
we
that.
we had to let Shawn Michaels do it. Shawn Michaels was all we had. So Shawn Michaels had the green light to do whatever. That's all they had was Shawn Michaels.
True,
And they
true.
we wrote Shawn Michaels back.
Yeah, he's the youngest guy coming up. Um, Now, what's crazy about this? He did compete for the WWE Championship, fighting Diesel, but he did not win that year. He did not win. And
And
great,
this would be like the third year where, because it was the Yokozuna, it was 1993 where we started the
yes,
yeah.
yes. 93 and 94 we had co-winners, and then remember, Psycho Sid was Shawn Michaels' new bodyguard,
Right.
and he was fighting against old bodyguard Diesel. That's what Psycho Sid was really getting noticed. Um, But yeah, he lost the WrestleMania title match. Now Diesel had offered Shawn Michaels a rematch. Michaels told Michaels told Psycho Sid he would not need him in the rematch, and that's what Psycho Sid turned on HBK.
Right.
And then Diesel came to HBK rescue. Then Diesel and Shawn Michaels became friends again. They were tag team champions. WWE tag team champions later that year. So that was interesting that happened. And that was great. That was a great story between him and Diesel. Even though it was a dark time, they did put on a great story between those two men, story wise.
Very true. Very
Because
true. Very
Diesel had held the belt for like a year, almost a year, 358 days, almost a year to be exact, pretty much a year. And this is the same WrestleMania that Diesel had Pamela Anderson and Shawn Michaels had Jenny McCarthy. Remember, she was there too. So
mm-hmm.
I thought that was funny. Yeah, that's the valets of popular models or popular actresses being at WrestleMania. It's a great story.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So now we're moving right along to the next year, Royal Rumble 1996. That was January 21st, 1996, in Fresno, California, where Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Side note, Triple H is a two-time Iron Man winner under two different characters, guys. He was an Iron Man later on under Triple H, and you see here he was a Iron Man under Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and he came in at number one, just like Shawn the previous year, and he stayed in for 48 minutes and 5 seconds.
And only had one elimination. One elimination. Eliminated by Diesel, who was the number 29 to be eliminated by eventual winner Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels going to WrestleMania and win the championship this time. Now, a classic Iron Man match, WrestleMania 12 against Bret the Hitman Hart. This is Bret. But yeah, this was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He was in there. We keep forgetting that he was in the Rumbles in that character.
Yeah, and I mean that like we said in the beginning, they put a lot of responsibility in the Iron Man. It's a lot of expectation placed in the Iron Man's lap to kind of push forward the whole Royal Rumble match. So
And also, this will be the first pay-per-view appearance of a very legendary WWE wrestler, Hall of Famer. He went by the name the Ringmaster, but you know him as Stone Cold Steve Austin. First time we ever saw him.
right.
So that was interesting to see. But we saw Stone Cold in there, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I'm sorry, the Ringmaster. Ringmaster went to win 3 Royal Rumbles. That's why we saw 2 different characters, and they went to win Royal Rumbles and other different characters later on. So I always found that interesting. Then we had the final 4. We had Shawn Michaels. We had, I want to say, Diesel, Kama. That's the Godfather, for those who don't know. Yes, that's him. He has so many names. And 27 was the British Bulldog.
Okay.
Very interesting facts there. Like you said, 96 when things started to roll around, I guess. Starting to get better. And we had a lot of new characters, like the Hunter Hearst Helmsley a year before, Rainmaster. Vince McMahon was trying, he had to reset. He was trying out a lot of new people. A lot of new people was in there. So,
And speaking of the Ringmaster, that's the segue because the following year, Stone Cold Steve Austin and that Attitude Era come kicking in. That's when it start to get lit. WWE start to turn the corner right here in 97. So in 1997, January 19th, San Antonio, Texas, Stone Cold Steve Austin goes 45 minutes and 4 seconds to become the Iron Man from number 5 spot.
and he had a number of 10 eliminations. 10 eliminations. But it's a controversial one. He was eliminated originally by Bret Hart, but the refs didn't see it, and he snuck his way back in. I haven't seen that since then. Stone Cold, that was slick. That was a very good heel move.
Yeah,
Was
very good. Very good heel move.
initially eliminated, but he snuck back in, and because it was a brawl between Terry Funk and Mankind, the refs was handling that situation. So, and also Stone Cold tied the record for the most eliminations in a single Royal Rumble match with 10. The previous record was Hulk Hogan with 10 in the 1989 Royal Rumble. So that was a good record for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Now, next, and we can see the order. We can see how it start to go in order now. Now it start to make sense. From Shawn Michaels to Triple H, from Austin to, and I ain't bring his photo, but y'all smell what The Rock is cooking, because in San Jose, California, January 18th, 1998, The Rock went 51 minutes and 31 seconds at the number 4 spot. And this was the coming out party for The Rock right here, if you ask me.
Now, this is when Rock went through the whole Rocky Maivia. That didn't work. And then he came back with a new character. I know this Royal Rumble, this is when Mick Foley entered under 3 different characters. Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and Mankind. 3 different characters. No one's ever done that, by the way. But he had a total of 3 eliminations. He was eliminated by the eventual winner, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like I said, WWE, like you said, they're starting to have new guys and they get them opportunity at Royal Rumble. I'm trying to see how they work out. Because Royal Rumble, that's a lot of conditioning they have to do. And as we know, Rock will go on to win the Intercontinental Championship, well awarded by Stone Cold Steve Austin. And of course, he was, as he stated, the greatest Intercontinental Champion there ever was. And he feuded with Hunter, Triple H and DX. SummerSlam 98, ladder match that same year. So that speaks volumes alone. And then later that year, for you guys don't know, he did win a WWE Championship at Survivor Series. And it was a screw job, just like the Survivor Series the year before. That's how he won it. Without Mankind in the finals, they vacated the belt, and it came down last in the tournament of him and Mankind. I think it was called Deadly War or something. However they called that one. It's a special Survivor Series they called it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's called Deadly something.
Uh-huh.
I forgot what it's called. Stone Cold's champion, and this one corporation was him and Vince was feuding. They tried their best. The corporation screwed him out the tournament because Vince won't see him as champ no more. And they need a new champion. They need the corporate champion. And that's when Rock was picked. His career really took off after this Royal Rumble. Like I said, Intercontinental champion, classic SummerSlam match. And then he just took it to the top. He took it to the top with the Nation Domination. And then he got the WWE title. And then he was not only winning the WWE title, he was the youngest champion at that time at 26 years old. Also, he was on the Deadly Games. It's called Deadly Games. Deadly Game.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he was really, holding the company down. He was the Rock. He was the corporate champ, the corporate elbow, the corporate eyebrow, leading the corporation. He won the title and the Intercontinental title, and his career speaks for itself. You smell what the Rock is cooking.
Absolutely. And that performance was followed by next year in Anaheim, California on January 24th, 1991, Mr. McMahon.
You mean 99? 99 you meant?
Sorry, 99, January 99. McMahon was born, guys. McMahon, the character as we know it. Well, he was born a little bit earlier than 99.
Yeah.
But he was in high def in 99. He was like, it was up. Vince was not going anywhere. But you want to break that thing down right there?
Yeah.
This Royal Rumble?
Yeah, like I said, the height of the Stone Cold Miss McMahon rivalry was still going. It was at the height, one of the best rivalries ever. Stone Cold was going to win, but The Rock, who was champion, like I said, just won the title at Survivor Series for a few months prior. He came out to distract Stone Cold, and he tried to, and it worked. And Vince was able to eliminate Stone Cold in the Rumble. Now, his Rumble was different because it's the first time we saw, I think he's the oldest Royal Rumble winner for one. First time the owner won it. And also, it was a storyline where he gave up his number one spot. He gave it up. He's not going to fight The Rock, his corporate champion at WrestleMania. He gave up his number one spot. They just didn't want Stone Cold to win it. Like I said, it was all to screw Stone Cold the best way possible. And he awarded The Rock in storyline $100,000 bounty for helping him eliminate Stone Cold. So, and he announced he, like I said, forfeit his title shot. But Commissioner Shawn Michaels, who's retired, he said, according to the rule book, when you do that, forfeit your spot, you're out of the main event. Since you forfeit your spot, you were the winner, the runner-up gets the opportunity to fight WrestleMania. And who was the runner-up to Vince McMahon? Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's champ, The Rock. So this set up the whole Rock versus Stone Cold WrestleMania for the WWE Championship. Great story. Great story.
Great story.
Yes. And think about it is he had to fight Vince McMahon in a steel cage match at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. To keep his, if he really wanted the Royal Rumble spot. And he wanted to beat Vincent up. Come on, he wanted to give Vince that work. Let's be honest. And he had to win. Because I believe he didn't win, he wouldn't go to WrestleMania. But anyway, he was risking his WrestleMania title shot for that chance. And there would be no corporate interference. Now we know this is Vince. We saw this big dude come out during a match. Big, large in life dude, long hair. He looked like the Giant from WCW, if you guys remember him. He came out, this is when he debuted. His name was Paul White, the Big Show Paul White come out. He threw Stone Cold over against the cage over and over. But what this fool did, when you threw him over the cage, Stone Cold went out of the ring in the cage and he won the match. And Vince was so upset. He was like, oh no, this dude won. You threw him against the wall, but it broke open because of the strength of Paul White. And that's how we got Stone Cold and Rock at WrestleMania. And Rock went losing the title at Philadelphia, which we had this year. Stone Cold defeated him to win his second WWE Championship, and it was just a story. It was cinema, pure cinema.
Crazy. That was storytelling like no other right there. And man, I miss the good old days.
Yeah.
When we had patience.
Yeah.
When everybody had a little bit more patience.
And there was no social media, trying to force everything, trying to do all this dirt sheets. It was dirt sheets, but they were trying to leak everything. And they want to manipulate the bookers and producers into writing something that we know that would be not organic.
Right. Now, guys, we on to 2000, guys. We done made it to 2000. The year 2000, January 23, 2000, in New York, New York. Tess, guys, became the Iron Man that year. From the 10th spot, he lasted 26 minutes and 48 seconds.
All
Now,
right. All
Tess,
right.
I always saw heavyweight championship material on Tess. It just was something missing. I don't know why Vince didn't put the title on him. I don't know. That WWE are not kind to their big men. They're not that kind to their big men. But I always saw a WWF champion. He remind me of Magnum TA.
Yeah, Test one elimination, eliminated by the runner-up of that year, the Big Show. But yeah, he definitely was missing something. What's crazy is he was in the corporation, and he had storyline with Shane McMahon over Stephanie McMahon. He dated her, engaged to her, until Triple H took everything away. But he had a very, very good. He had something ahead. He had a bright future ahead of him. He was never the same after the 99 2000.
Never the same, right? Right.
Now
Just
I heard he want the nicest guy to deal with backstage. That may play a big factor in that. Was not the most well-liked guy in the locker room. He rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And remember, he did end up getting released, and he came back for ECW in the mid 2000s. But I know that played a part in that as well.
Wow. That I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed that.
Oh yeah, Randy Orton cut an interview, and he said he first, got in a young Randy Orton. He said Test was not kind to him. He said Test
Oh.
was a jerk. But he said that when Randy Orton had a name, he said Test was trying to kiss his ass and be all nice to him later on.
Nice try, Tess. Next, guys, we got, and I feel like I disrespected my boy Kane. We got Kane. Kane is one of the most impressive Royal Rumble. He might be Mr. Royal Rumble. Definitely in the nominations for Mr. Royal Rumble. January 21st, 2001, in New Orleans, Louisiana, Kane became the Iron Man at 53 minutes and 44 seconds from the number 6 position.
Yeah, 11 eliminations a record. Um, it's I know he won the Money in the Bank later in his career. Kane, it don't make no sense why Kane never won a Royal Rumble. It just don't make no sense to me. I still don't get that. Like I said, I understood he won the Money in the Bank, and he was the first one to cash in the same night. That's cool, but he should have won this too.
It's crazy the way they use the big men. They use the big men as just attractions. If it leads to a storyline, then they don't need the big man because they feel that big men are attractions. Like, and they don't. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
that's
do.
crazy.
They do. And no one's ever eliminated 11 men in the Rumble. Stone Cold had the record. Hogan had the record, so he definitely held that. And he
Right.
was eliminated by the winner Stone Cold, who won his record third time Royal Rumble. Still the only man to win 3. Who I think is Mr. Royal Rumble, Stone Cold Steve Austin, for as far as winning. Um, Kane, I mean, like you said, attraction. Kane, he was in a lot of feuds. He was limited to the mostly a tag team competitor, winning tag team championships with Undertaker and an Intercontinental champion. He really didn't win. He only really won 3 world titles in his whole career, if you want to count the ECW title. Really 2. He really didn't do nothing, but it sucked. But I get why Stone Cold won. They wanted another. They had WrestleMania in Texas that year, and Rock had just won the title at No Way Out, so they wanted to run that back because Vince McMahon knew Rock and Austin was money automatically. Kane and Rock would have been no money.
That's true. That's true. All right. Let's move it right along. And speaking of Austin, it's next year. Austin again as the Iron Man. And this was January 20th, 2002, in Atlanta, Georgia. Austin wins the Iron Man position at 26 minutes and 47 seconds from the 19th spot.
7 eliminations. 7 eliminations. Eliminated by Kurt Angle, Mr. Perfect, and Triple H were going to win. Coming back from his injury. It was Stone Cold's 36th career career elimination of Royal Rumble. And it was a record for 8 years. No one eliminated that many people.
Wow. That was
Yep.
good information right there.
Mm-hmm. And remember, this is right before the brand split. The last one right before the brand split. Just want to notate that too. Last one before that. And also the last Royal Rumble that was called WWF before it went to WWE.
Good information. And next, guys, for 2003, Royal Rumble, January 19th, 2003, from Boston, Massachusetts, the Ayatollah of Rocker Roller, Chris Jericho, at 38 minutes and 59 seconds from the number 2 spot. I say Chris Jericho is definitely one of the GOATs of wrestling, definitely one of the living legends of wrestling.
He is. And this was the first Royal Rumble where it was WWE, like I said, and also with the brand split. He eliminated 6 people, eventually eliminated by test. And Chris Jericho will go on to be the number 1 guy who held to the Intercontinental Championship the most. So he was known for Intercontinental Championship runs, but also this is the same year where he have a great storyline with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. And this is Shawn Michaels' first WrestleMania back. That was a great match. So it put him in some great feuds. So definitely set him up for great feuds. And he eliminated Shawn Michaels in that Rumble too, that he went to go on the feud with. So he definitely had a lot going on for himself.
Good stuff for Jericho. Good stuff for Jericho. Now, next up, definitely not the most popular, but I don't care. I'm a wrestling fan, and I speak for the wrestler. I pay attention to the wrestling. I don't care about somebody else's life. It's their choice and their decision. We all get those, you know what I mean? So, in any event, let's move it right along to January 25th. That's my B-Day. 2004, Philadelphia, PA, Royal Rumble 2004, Chris Benoit, the crossface crippler, at 1 hour and 1 minute and 33 seconds. Now, this was the record. He broke Bob Backlund's previous record, which was set at 1 hour, 1 minute, and 15 seconds. So Chris Benoit put up big numbers right here, big numbers from the 1 position. Now I know we'll get crucified for mentioning this guy's accomplishments, but TBK, we can't let his accomplishments go unspoken of. What's your
No,
take?
especially if we got Jimmy Snuka in the Hall of Fame after what he did to his ex-girlfriend. So if you could let that ride, you could let this ride too. We don't talk about that enough. And that man did some dirty stuff too. But back to Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit won the longest time. And like you said, at that time it was previously held by Bob Backlund. He was. We're gonna get to this later. That record will be broken 2 years later by Rey Mysterio in 2006 Royal Rumble, the eventual winner. He had 6 eliminations, and he did something that no one has done before. SmackDown superstar Chris Benoit. Now when he won the Royal Rumble, you thought he'd go to SmackDown like, hey, I want to fight for the WWE title. The champion at the time, I believe, was Kurt Angle, I believe. Anyway, no, correction. Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero was the champion. And he did something. He made a move. He when Stone Cold, general manager of Raw, Shawn Michaels and Triple H had fought over the world title. They had a same event, Royal Rumble, had the last man standing. Great classic story. It was a draw. Title states were champion. Shawn Michaels won another opportunity for the world title. Since Triple H was in the draw, Stone Cold said, you wrestled a good match, Shawn Michaels, but I can't grant you that because you didn't win the Royal Rumble. Chris Benoit did. And I'm going to have him come out here now. And then I remember that moment when JR was like, what is Chris Benoit doing here? This is not SmackDown. And he said, I'm coming to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship. And that's the first time we saw someone cross brands. A SmackDown superstar did not fight for his brand's championship. He came and switched brands to Raw and fight for their world championship. So Chris Benoit was added to the main event of WrestleMania. It was supposed to be him and Triple H, but Shawn Michaels inserted himself in there by signing a contract after super kicking Benoit. Triple threat at WrestleMania, first time that's ever happened. First time a triple threat for a world title, and he won. Tapped out the game. An iconic moment. So he definitely did a lot of groundbreaking things in this Royal Rumble. And when he did win the Royal Rumble, let's not forget about that. He eliminated the Big Show. A guy his size eliminated the Big Show to win. So that right there,
Facts.
that was props too. So
Facts. That was definitely a big feat right there. But definitely they was putting all their eggs in on the Benoit basket because the very next year he was the Iron Man again. Did I read the notes right?
he was in there for 47 minutes and 26 seconds, two eliminations, and he was a Raw superstar at the time. So he definitely do his thing. But I thought Edge was honestly the Iron Man because he was in there for 40 minutes and he eliminated 5 people. I thought he was the Iron Man for '05. If they got Chris Benoit there, I really thought it was Edge. That's when we noticed Edge started doing his thing.
Yeah, I do see Edge on the list as an Iron Man, just not this year. I also see Jericho too. So,
You have
but I
several
think,
Iron Man. Yeah, I guess you have several of them.
yeah, I think,
Jericho, he did his thing too. Chris Jericho's another one. He did his thing too. He was in there for 28 minutes. He came down 11. He's in for almost 30. But and Rey Mysterio was in there for 38 minutes as well. He was another one. I remember that Roman too. Ray was in there for a good minute. He was in there for a good hot minute. I think you have several Iron Man. I know we don't have one Iron Man. You had several. You had Ray. You had Jericho, Edge, and Benoit. You had several men in there. Be honest with you, several's in there at that particular point. Now I know Chris Benoit was not the final 4, but Edge, Mysterio, and of course Cena Batista were the last 4.
right, right. That's very interesting. Now, um, what year would that be? That would be 2000 and
2005. 5.
2005. Do you want to explain what was like the storyline centered around that Rumble?
Well, this is the Royal Rumble where Batista botched. And him and Cena were at the same time. Vince McMahon came out and he had famously pulled both his quads. So that was a botch in the ending. That's what it's mostly known for. And also, this is also known for Daniel Puder, tough enough winner. He got the veterans. It was kind of busting his chops of how he disrespected Kurt Angle. And we're talking about Chris Benoit was one of them. Hardcore Holly and Eddie Guerrero. That was like old school. If you guys remember that Royal Rumble, this is a very famous Royal Rumble. A lot of crazy stuff that wasn't supposed to happen did happen. So I think that's why we were talking about Iron Man because it was so many distractions. That happened, but the main thing of the story, like you asked me, is to build new stars. We're done with the whole Rock and Austin are gone. Triple H is on top now. We need new stars. Brock Lesnar is out. John Cena was coming up on SmackDown. Batista was being built on Raw with the whole Evolution, about to leave Evolution. And Triple H didn't want Batista into the Rumble. And he did. And he won the Rumble, you know, even though he wasn't supposed to go over the top rope. That's why Vince was so upset. But he last eliminated John Cena after they have to restart the match. And he won at number 28. He eliminated 6 people. John Cena was the runner up for the Royal Rumble, but this was the whole story. It was to build those new guys. We also had Kurt Angle. Him and Shawn Michaels had a rivalry. Their rivalry started at the Royal Rumble. They WrestleMania 21 match, and it started when Kurt Angle got eliminated by HBK. Kurt Angle didn't like it. He came back eliminated HBK, and that feud lasted all the way to WrestleMania 21. This is the first time we really saw the interpromotional cross brand. Shawn Michaels Raw, Kurt Angle SmackDown. They fought each other at WrestleMania. So that was a story also as well. And Chris Benoit, yes, he is. I would say he's one of the Iron Man. He did do his thing, but Edge was really the shining star too, because Edge, the reason I call him the Iron Man, if you guys don't remember, Edge had just had a singles match against Shawn Michaels, an 18-minute match with Shawn Michaels, and he beat Shawn Michaels. Edge was in 2 matches at one night. I think he was the only one that was in the Rumble that long that had a match prior. He was like literally the first match on the show. So he did double duty that night.
Who do you think is the better heel, Edge or the Chris Benoit?
Edge. Benoit's a great heel, but due to his size, he's not more believable. I'm thinking the eyes of the actual fan. I think if Benoit was a little bit bigger, he would be more menacing heel. But he's a great heel, just Edge is better. And Edge had a little bit better gimmick. He had the radar superstar. Because Edge was a babyface. When he came back from that neck injury, he had that I'm obsessed with winning the world title. And that's how he got gifted actually the same year. That's how I know he's a real Iron Man. He won the Money in the Bank that year at WrestleMania. The first ever Money in the Bank. I said Edge had a lot going on for him. He fought Shawn. He had a feud with Shawn Michaels. He defeated him. He won the they didn't win, but he was a Final Four in the Royal Rumble. He won the Money in the Bank, and then he had the contract for 9 months. Edge had a lot going on for him. Benoit, however, he was in a lot. He did compete for the world title. He was in Elimination Chamber for the vacated world title at New Year's Revolution. He was involved in that match that Triple H did win. He did try to get back to the world title picture, but he got sent back to SmackDown and he was a mid card. I'm not saying nothing good happened to Chris. He just Edge was a little bit higher. He was Intercontinental Champion. And I believe at WrestleMania that year, Chris Benoit was Intercontinental Champion. So I'm not saying Chris didn't do anything. He did stuff too.
Makes sense. It makes sense. So let's move it right along. Because now in 2006, and actually the books do have Chris Benoit back to back. And 2005 was in Fresno, California. And they got Chris Benoit at 47 minutes and 32 seconds at number 2. So, damn, the previous year he came out at number 1. Then the following year he came out at number 2. So now, January 29th, 2006, in Miami, Florida, Rey Mysterio wins and he sets the record, the overall record, which was previously set by Bob Backlund at 1 minute and 1:15, and then it was broken by Chris Benoit at 1 minute and 1:33. Now Rey Mysterio comes in at 1 hour, 2 minutes and 2 seconds, taking down Chris Benoit record of 1 hour, 1 minute and 33 seconds. Good old Rey Mysterio. Rey's a made man from this point on.
Boyka 619.
Right. 19 years later.
Won another great Royal Rumble. Triple H was number 28. Randy Orton 29. Also had great performances in there. Rey Mysterio, we know a few months prior, Eddie Guerrero had passed away. We know that happened. And Ray, I've heard, the rumors said, well, Eddie said that he was supposed to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And Randy Orton had an angle with Rey Mysterio over that world title, saying, Ray, you won because everybody feels sorry for you due to Eddie passing away. That's why you're inserted. And he last eliminated Randy Orton. And the world champion at that point was Kurt Angle, who won the championship in a battle royal because the previous champion was Batista, who won the Royal Rumble year before, went from Raw to SmackDown. He got injured by Mark Henry. He had to force to vacate the world title. And Kurt Angle, who was on Raw, came to SmackDown, won the Battle Royal and the world title. That was his only world title that Kurt Angle had won of the World Heavyweight Championship. For that matter, and Ray was going to face Kurt Angle for the title, and Randy Orton thought he should have won because he got so close, and he, at No Way Out, he had Rey Mysterio put his Royal Rumble opportunity on the line, and Randy Orton held the tights, and he won. Rey Mysterio at one point was not going to compete for the world title at WrestleMania. It was Randy Orton. And Teddy Long saw what Randy Orton did. He said, "No, Ray, I'm going to make it a triple threat match." And Randy Orton was like, "What's going on? Why is triple threat? I beat him." "No, you cheated." And Randy Orton got mad and everything. And I remember we had just talked about this figure four. This is when Saturday night's main event had just resurfaced. And it was actually that main event. It was SmackDown's main event, WrestleMania, versus Raw WrestleMania's main event. Now, since it was a triple threat, it would be Ray, Kurt Angle, Randy Orton on one side against the Raw WrestleMania, which was WWE Champion John Cena at the time, and Triple H had won a tournament to fight for the WWE title WrestleMania. So they all went against each other, and Cena and Triple H won that match. But anyway, Ray had a lot of story going on. Ray would go into WrestleMania. He would defeat both Kurt Angle and Randy Orton in a triple threat to win the world title. He held it for, I want to say, 100, maybe four months before losing it to King Booker, who won the King of the Ring. And he lost that Great American Bash. But Ray had a great run. And as we see, Ray still has a great run to this day. Now, he had a lot of nagging injuries. And I know at one point he left WWE, but he returned. And now, the legacy continues. He got his son wrestling now. So Rey Mysterio, like you said, is a made man at this point. We see that now, especially today. And Ray has pretty much been always active. Just not after losing the world title, he was either involved in a mid-card scene or close to a world title scene, because he's won the total of 3 world titles. He won a world title later again a few years later. He won WWE title, lots of Intercontinental Championship, United States titles. He's pretty much made his mark. And I believe he's the smallest man to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think anybody that small has ever won before.
Great facts, great facts, great facts, great facts. So now we're moving right along, moving right along. Next up, after Rey Mysterio, we goes into the 2007 Royal Rumble, where our guy Edge in San Antonio, Texas on January 28th, 2007 became our Iron Man at 44 minutes and 5 seconds, and he entered the Rumble at number 5. And I think this style of a match, along with Money in the Bank, is one of cut for Edge right here. The heel Edge at that. Even though I know that the Royal Rumble guys is typically for our faces, your Royal Rumble is typically for your hot, upcoming, or your new to the company face. You rarely gonna see a heel win, especially a sneaky heel. You normally get a dominant heel, like a Yokozuna or Brock Lesnar, but you rarely get the sneaky heels like your Miz's or your Edges. But we ain't saying you can't, because we even see Alberto Del Rio get a Royal Rumble win, and he's fit under that sneaky heel. But we got Edge in 2007. What's your take on Edge?
At this point in the career, Edge already had been a multiple-time world champion. He was on SmackDown, on Raw. He wasn't even on SmackDown yet. It's before Edge even touched the world title. He was only WWE champion, former WWE champion. Now, this is at the time when he was with the Rated RKO with Randy Orton. And Randy Orton also was in that run for a long time. Fun fact, Rated RKO was part of the last four. Randy Orton, Edge, Shawn Michaels, and eventual winner Undertaker. And this is at the point where it's so great that this is when him and Orton start having issues. Because even though there's Rated RKO, they both want to be champion. And they can't do that if they're in the stable. So they end up both getting eliminated by Shawn Michaels, who was the runner-up. But yes, him and Orton as well also did well. But Edge, I will say yes, he did well. We know this year after losing Royal Rumble, he will go on to go to drafted SmackDown, and of course disband Rated RKO and win the world title. Have a very classic feud with The Undertaker, cash in the Money in the Bank, win that, everything. But this was a very good moment for Edge. Now he did eliminate 5 people in this match, and he came number 5. Orton did well, but Orton came in much later. I believe Randy Orton came at number 16, so I give this to Edge. Give the edge to Edge, no pun intended. But this was a very good move for him. He won his second Money in the Bank contract, and no one expected him to go to Smack. He won the contract from Kennedy in the match, and he also won it as a Raw superstar. Now he pulled a Chris Benoit. He was on one show, and he went to another show to win their title. He went to SmackDown cashing on Undertaker after Mark Henry had a match with him after Mark Henry dominated him, and he cashed in his second world title. And then it takes from there. Edge was pretty much SmackDown made at that point. He wasn't really Raw anymore. It's SmackDown, and I see that happen with a lot of superstars. They'll be a name, they be on Raw, but they be a better fit for SmackDown. Similar to Roman Reigns is now. When I think of Roman Reigns now, I don't think of the Raw. I think of SmackDown. So great run for Edge.
Facts, guys. And guys, we definitely gonna break this down because I don't like to do 3-hour lives. So we're gonna break this down into a 2-part series. So those of you watching on the playback, when this video is in, you will have part 2 pop up on the screen and you can click into that so you can have the full total history of WWE Royal Rumble's Iron Man. All right, so we're gonna do 2008, and then we're going to stop it there. So this will be titled 1988 till 2008, and then we'll see you guys again, maybe tomorrow or maybe Tuesday night. All right, guys, so let's get on in with the last but not least, the 2008 Royal Rumble winner, January, what's that? January 27th, 2008, from New York, New York, none other than the Beast, Batista. And now, I saw this Royal Rumble. I remember this Royal Rumble. You want to break this thing down for us, my guy?
Yeah, this is the Royal Rumble. John Cena returned and won the Royal Rumble.
Yep. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yep, he did that. But other than that, this was Batista. He was in there. I think he was one of the final 4. And Triple H was 29, and I believe Batista was 28. He was eliminated by Triple H. He was in there for 37 minutes, 4 eliminations. Now Batista at this point, he was starting to get back into the scene. Batista had some injuries in between, but he was still SmackDown and still tried to make his way back to the world title scene. And he did get some world title opportunities against Undertaker and Edge. but he did not win the world title against those guys. He did win it later that year when he was on Raw. When he got drafted to Raw, he did win that at that point when he was feuding against Chris Jericho for the world title. He lost to Chris Jericho, but he did beat him at Cyber Sunday that year. But he definitely did his thing. Definitely shine. He definitely shined this match.
No doubt, no diggity. And another note, side note for my New Yorkers, this was the last Royal Rumble we had in New York.
Oh wow, didn't know
This
that.
was the last Royal Rumble we had. This took place in Madison Square Garden. We have not had a Royal Rumble in Barclays Center. We normally have SummerSlams there, but we haven't had a Royal Rumble there, and we haven't had a Royal Rumble in Madison Square Garden since. So
Wow.
we need a Royal Rumble in the Garden. All right, guys. I hope y'all had a good time. I hope y'all got informed. I hope y'all had y'all pens, guys. And I appreciate y'all for coming. Big Tay, how you doing, man? Salute. You know what I mean? Salute, my guy. We'll be back to finish this on up. We'll go from 2008 to the current 2024, guys. So we'll see y'all later. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for coming out, TBK. Anything you
No
got to say to
problem.
wrap it on up?
No, salute to everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming out. We'll come out and give some more facts. Remember, Royal Rumble for 2025 will not be in January. For the first time ever, February 1st, 2025 in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And that's going to be a key. That's key information there because WWE locks down the month of January since they did what they did to the Bunkhouse Stampede show. You know what I mean? So WWE normally owns the month of January. No other wrestling promotion books anything in January. So that's a key factor. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. We see y'all later.
This is a wreck. He's moving like an uncaged animal.
No lie, he's wild in there.